Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my backyard. It is a beautiful day finally here in Minnesota. We had a really long winter. It is late May and it's starting to get nice and warm, and I can work on my summer tan and maybe work off some of this winter belly I have going on here. So a viewer reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to pick up a log out of his yard. He had this tree removed and was planning on cutting up himself for some lumber, but you know, time and things kind of got away from him. And he sent me an email asking if I wanted to come and grab it before he has someone come and just take it for firewood or something like that. So of course I said yes, and he sent me a few pictures of it. Looks like it's in pretty good shape, pretty good size. Said it was a silver maple tree. The log is 10 feet long and about 44 inches in diameter. So that should put this thing at right around 5,000 pounds, which should be a fun thing to go pick up. So it has been a while, like I said, since I've done really anything. So the trailer has been sitting all winter. I'm going to get things loaded up and then I'll check the tire pressure on the tires to make sure those are all good, because I don't really want to be driving around with 5,000 pounds on underinflated tires for my trailer. So if you're interested in the overall process that I go through and the things that I bring with me on a pickup like this, I'll leave you a link to a video I did about 2 years ago called Urban Logging Strategies, which goes into a little more detail on the things I bring with me, how I find some logs if I'm actively looking for them, and this is the overall process of going to pick them up. All right, I think we should be all set to go at this point. This pickup isn't that far. It's about 4 miles on, I guess, normal street type roads. So nothing super crazy, but as always, I'm gonna pull forward up the driveway, and when I get up there, I'll test the brakes as I come to a stop, and then I'll get out and walk around the trailer, make sure the lights work, and everything looks like it's all good still. So I'll check the coupling area, make sure the coupler hasn't popped out for whatever reason, make sure it's still fully secure, check the safety chains, make sure they're still on there all right, and then should be ready to just do this. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. Got this log up on some smaller logs. Pretty good size. Of course, the biggest concern right now is this fence being here. So probably the first step is going to be to roll this thing into this clearing here so it's a clear shot up into the trailer. So to convince this thing to kind of roll in that direction as I'm lifting, I have it wrapped in a chain, which isn't going to be sliding around too much. I'm going to be pulling from this point, so as I'm lifting here, it should cause the whole log to pivot over and hopefully land more out into this clearing, so I don't knock out that garbage can fence. So I thought that fence thing was actually like anchored into the ground, but apparently it's just kind of sitting there. So I've shoved it off to the side, and I can always move it some more if I need to. So I'm just gonna kind of continue things as if that fence thing wasn't an issue, which I think I'll probably pull forward a little bit first. So I've changed my approach angle so it's a little bit more in line, but this log, this bigger log it's sitting on top of is really gonna kind of screw this up a lot, because it's gonna try and slide that way even further. So yeah, this is going to be kind of weird. So what I'm hoping to do here is probably start pulling on a little bit, see where it wants to go, and then hopefully I can get it out of here and more in line with the trailer. So luckily that went a little bit better than I was expecting. I got it a little more in line and it's sitting on the back of the trailer now. I was able to stick that piece of wood right in there to keep it from rolling over further. So now this should be a simple matter of typical loading operation. So the welds on the bottom that hold the stake pocket on, where my stabilizing jack is on the back of my trailer, had broken about a year ago. And after that lift, it definitely seems to have bent that whole corner with the stake pocket right out. So luckily I have a bottle jack with me, so I can use that to support the back of the trailer. And then I'll get this back corner stake pocket area fixed at some point in the future. And that weld holding that stake pocket on was not one of my welds. So now's where it becomes really obvious that I'm a little bit rusty with this. So in a second you'll see I'm not paying attention and my safety blanket gets pulled into the winch. So I messed around with it for a while and I was able to get most of the blanket free, but it was still bound up between where the cable comes in and the rollers on the fair lead. I just couldn't get those loose, so what I ended up doing was just pulling the whole fair lead off. Luckily I had a adjustable wrench in my truck that I could use to unbolt it. Ideally I'd be able to pop off the roller and free it that way, but those are on there with some snap rings and I don't have any snap ring pliers with me. So I figured it's unbolting the fair lead will be just fine, since the remainder of these pulls is going to have the cable coming directly straight into the winch and not off at some kind of weird angle, so I'm not too worried about having the actual fair lead in there. Now as I'm messing with that blanket trying to get it out, I thought I'd answer a question I get quite a lot whenever I show the winching, and that has to do with why I have a blanket on the cable. So the idea behind the blanket is a little bit of risk mitigation as far as the risk associated with the cable or an anchor point or something in the whole system failing under load. The idea with the blanket is it weighs the cable down and should help to direct the cable down into the ground as opposed to going up into the air. It could also potentially entangle the cable, making the reach on the cable a little bit shorter, so it won't be able to whiplash out as far. And if the reach on a whiplashing cable is reduced enough so it just barely misses you, just in case you happen to be standing too close for whatever reason in that moment, those couple of feet can be a lifesaver. Now you can also get a synthetic cable for the winch as well. The advantage there is that the cable doesn't have as much stored energy, so there's less risk of severe injury if it does break. The downside to those is they don't have as much wear resistance, and in an application like this, the cable does take a decent amount of wear. Alright, so that's it. The log is up there. I got it chained down. And the last thing I'm going to do before I head out here is just walk around, make sure I have everything. That's all tied down there. This chain has to come off. And let's look around the ground, make sure I have all my PVs and chains and everything. And then unhook the winch and drive it back. Yeah, I'll fix that when I get home. Have one of those days. So another successful pickup, and it kind of looks like He may have sealed this up already. I might just put another coat of anchor seal on here just to be a little bit safer, but it looks like it hasn't checked a whole lot, so that's kind of indicative of having some sealant on there already, even though it's been out in the sun as long as it has. So I'll probably just give that a little extra coat of anchor seal while I have it up here on the trailer. And this was definitely one of my longer pickups. The door-to-door time was right at 2 hours, and a lot of that was trying to pull off the fair lead on the winch with an adjustable wrench, which was kind of frustrating, but think on your feet, I guess. I'm a little rusty. So now that I'm back, I have the right tool to actually remove the fair lead clips for the rollers. I can pop a roller off, pull this stupid blanket out of here, and get this fair lead thing bolted back onto the front of the winch, which I will do with something other than an adjustable wrench. Should be a lot easier. So it's already 5 o'clock tonight, and I'm not in a huge rush to get this thing off the trailer, so I think maybe tomorrow or the day after, we'll see how the weather is. We'll go out here and get this thing winched off the trailer and onto the bed of the mill. So it's a couple of days later, and I have some free time to offload this log. Normally I set this up with the winch on the trailer pushing the log off the trailer onto the mill, but today I've set things up so I'm using a winch on the actual mill to pull the log onto it. The winch on the mill is removable, and I usually have it stored like in the back of the shed, so it's a lot more hassle to try and get it out than it is to just rig the winch that's ready on the trailer to just push the log off. I have a pair of skis, which are just some bent 1/4-inch steel. Not really sure what these were from. They look like they might have been like pallet fork extensions or something. Don't really know, but they work really well to slide logs along the bunks of the mill. So I lubricate those with a little bit of diesel from the lube bottle, and then I can place them under the log as it's coming off. This is really helpful on a log like this where you have two crotch limbs kind of putting their weight down between the bunks, so the skis help to lift and allow that whole log to ride over the top of the bunks, and it comes onto the mill fairly easily. So I'll just let this whole thing play through for you so you can see kind of in real time how long this really takes to get a log from the trailer to the mill. We're moving about 12 or 13 feet in this case, and the total run time, if I remove all of the little moments where I'm moving the camera around, come out to 2 minutes and 40 seconds to pull that log into position. Now, last thing I'll do is just raise the log up a little bit on both sides and put the skis underneath those crotch areas. That's going to further support and stabilize the log so it's not going to be rolling around on me as I'm cutting it. So I'm really looking forward to opening up this log and seeing all of the awesome stuff inside of here. It's quite large, and that makes me pretty excited. So I'll probably get this thing cut up in a couple of weeks, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, smash that like button while you're down there, and leave me a comment. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed a little more detail on the pickup process. I've gotten requests to go into a little more detail on how to get things onto the trailer with the arch. So hopefully seeing that in a little bit more real time has been helpful to those who are out there trying to pick up some big pieces of wood like this and saving them from the landfill. So probably another project coming up is going to be to work on the trailer a little bit. I do need to fix that, that corner with that stake pocket. so I can use it as a stake pocket and as a stabilizing corner. Again, the weld that holds that whole section to the frame totally broke, and now the whole thing is bent, so I'll probably have to cut that all off and redo it, but that's fine. I have a few other things to fix on the trailer as well, so more projects, right? So that's it for this one. Thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions on urban logging or anything back in the shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.